Hi, everybody. Shannon Johnson, metaphysical facilitator and medium. Finally getting into the boundary basics video today. Live on Facebook. Woo! So this was asked for by one of the followers of the page to be able to get some guidelines how to start working with boundaries, how to make a boundary, how to change a boundary, why is a boundary even needed? Hi, Svetlana. So that's what the purpose of today's session is about is, we're going to go through the different layers of being and address why we want boundaries there and get into how to create a boundary. Mr. Artie decided to join in today. Because boundaries are really important in every aspect of our lives. It doesn't matter if you're a medium, if you're a healer or anything like that. Boundaries are for everybody, no matter what you're doing or how you're doing it. It's something we all need to work with a little bit more, but trying to figure out how to gets a little bit crazy. So that's what our topic is today. I've done a video before that was covered 4 topics: boundaries, protections, cleansings, and clearings. So you can also check that video out. There's some great information on there. Today's session is about boundaries only, with a little help from Artie. So, hopefully some of my things to show you will actually show up and not get blurred out from the sunshine coming in the window. But one of the first things I wanted to start with was discussing, we have 4 layers of being, right? So we've got physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual layers of being. So what I'm going to show you first is a picture of our auric fields, and this also is showing the spiritual, mental, emotional, and vital field is what it's also referred to. Okay, so we've all heard, oh, my personal space, don't get into my personal space. That's one of the old terms. So a lot of people that aren't even aware of energy or even talking about it will use, don't get in my personal space. So to get a visual, this is the personal space. Okay, bring it in a little bit closer. All right. And you can see from the notes on here that we've got the intuitive spiritual field. Artie, you don't get to be the teacher this time. Okay? The mental field, the vital field, the emotional field. He likes these. Okay. So when we're looking at our aura, or people are talking about our auric field, dude, you gotta go. You're too big. Okay. This is basically what we're referring to, right? Let me come back into line. All right. Now, your aura is the electrical expression of the stasis of all other layers of being. That's why the aura can change all the time. Okay, it's not the same as the soul color. Soul color is at home. Auric field is always changing, and due to how you are in the current. So things you're even ignoring will show up in your auric field. colors you're not aware of can show up in your auric field, and you're like, no, I'm doing pretty good, but mentally you're going, oh my God, I'm drowning, holy shit. And it can be seen in the auric field because that part of the energy is being expressed through that field. So when we interact with another person, right, we're talking about that whole personal space thing, right? This is kind of giving you just a visual of how the energies connect when two people come together and are talking, okay? Even when you're giving personal space, the energies are connecting. And it would look a lot like this, okay? And you can see one person's energy looks really nice and fluffy and a little bit more, and the other one is like leaning in to the other person. Why? Feeling that energy and pulling into it, leaning into it. The other person is like, whoa, dude, okay, yeah, my energy's good, but, you're kind of interfering in my personal space here. So these are just visuals to give you an idea of how the energetic fields are around us, okay? Now, obviously, this person here needs to work a little bit more on the boundary, and this person needs to work a little bit more on respecting the boundary, right? Because he's leaning into them. For those wanting to know where this information came from, this came from the Healing Touch program, okay? So, why do we need a boundary on all of the different layers of being? Boundaries are the rules of engagement with you on all layers of being, okay? So if you're only making a boundary that is a mental boundary, okay, what happens to the other three, right? You're going to have people absorbing your energy. You're going to have people sharing shitty energy with you. You're going to be absorbing it. You're going to be getting into it, okay? So boundaries, basic level of definition to use is the rules of engagement for yourself and others, and not just humans. It's going to be humans, it's going to be animals, it's going to be other energy, it's going to be spirit, right? Because we have 4 layers of being, we need to look at our boundaries as addressing all 4 layers of our being. Rules of engagement with you. This was a big area for me to work on because I had people trampling me all the time. I'm the youngest of 5 children, so you've always got the older siblings telling you what you need to do, how you do it, and all that kind of stuff. And even getting into spiritual work, I needed to learn how to be able to do boundaries in order to manage my own energy and the rules of engagement of others along with me, because I was getting trampled on a lot. So I have this very large black cat in front of me, taking up the space. Talk about invading the physical space, right? Yeah, usually in my videos you see me with a coffee cup, I might have tea. Today's coffee cup is the crazy cat lady. Cat. All right, so let's talk about, we're going to go start from physical, and we're going to graduate up to spiritual about boundaries. Physical boundaries. This one, everybody is talking about the Me Too movement, right? So, but I want to say, physical boundaries are not just for women. Physical boundaries are for women, for men, for children, for animals, for all things. Okay? Everything has a consciousness in some form. Everything deserves a line of respect for just being as it is, right? So when physical boundaries are being crossed or not adhered to, what's happening? Okay, it's not always a sexual abuse. Okay? A physical boundary being interfered with can be something as simple as people that invade your space really aggressively. Say you have a boss that when he wants to ask you to work on that next project, right? And there's no sexual with it, okay? We're talking zip. But yet this person is always, every time he comes to talk to you, he's tries to stand above you, tries to lean in towards you, be very authoritative of, I need this report, it's getting assigned to you, blah, 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 blah. And so he's leaning into your energy and impacting you physically because your physical space is getting pulled in, right? So our natural instinct is to pull in fetal position, right? And really what we want to do, we want to get bigger. We want to pull the shoulders up. We want our auric field to push out. And everything in our physical being is now coming up, rising up, vibration coming up. And you're not needing to do a confrontation, but when you shift your presence, your physical being, people start to step back. Because when we cower down and fetal into this, their energy feels empowered, right? Especially if you have somebody really kind of shitty about the authoritative aspect. And so they just keep leaning in and leaning in and leaning in, and you're cowering and cowering and leaning down, right? But what you want to do, shift up. Fuck no. All right? I've got your report, no problem. But now I'm going to actually stand up in that area, which makes him step back. There's been no verbal confrontation. All you've done is used your energy and your physical being to expand out rather than him pushing it in. Something simple. And you can do that with anybody. You know, I've done it with my kids, I've done it with my husband, I've done it with friends, I've done it with family members, co-workers, you know, because when we come into our presence, into our physical being in that way, our energy just goes, yeah, dude, you're going to have to move back to make space. When physical boundaries are being crossed, no matter what your physical boundaries are, it affects all the layers of being. All right? In some way, it's going to impact you emotionally, mentally, and eventually spiritually. Everything that comes from those layers eventually is going to manifest in the physical. So the physical is important to take care of and maintain. It'll also, because we're not addressing it, we can end up causing physical ailments that relate to disempowerment. So bear in mind, the physical being has a lot more power than we get a bit credit for, because we only look at the physical layout of it. And yet the energetic layers of the physical being have a great strength to them when we pull the four together and push it out. I have this cat laying on my paper, so yeah, I don't want to look at that yet. Okay, so physical boundaries. When someone is crossing you physically, the fight or flight instinct kicks in. I've been through this a few times, more than a few times in my life, so it's one of those old areas that I've done a lot of healing on. Fight or flight kicks in for the physical body. Your brain checks out. Hate to tell you this, okay? But, and for those that have had experiences with this, you might be able to relate. But, you know, people, you hear people go, oh man, if I was attacked like that, I would do this and I would do that and I'd punch him like this and I'd kick him like that. Okay? Guess what? Fight or flight kicks in. Mental capacity to process that shit checks out. Your emotions go, whoa, oh my God. Physical action ends up being the saving grace. Okay. No matter how you experience it, there's deeper layers in that part of the being than you would ever imagine. There's a lot of lessons that you learn about yourself when you go through something like that. And it's almost like how do I put this? Okay, so, oh God, I'm gonna have to figure this out. Okay. So the physical you is taking the beating. Trying to use words that kind of skirt around rape. Okay. Because there's other forms. It's not just always a physical rape. It could be abuse, it could be whatever. Okay. Your physical body just kind of does a shutdown. And your emotional body is freaked out, and your mental body checked out and left. After something like that, you tend to feel completely stripped of identity and completely disempowered in who you are. And this is a huge area that working with boundaries for yourself is going to help you regain the empowerment of who you are. I'm not talking about dealing with the event, I'm talking about working with who you are. So when you're wanting to heal something like that, go through the other avenues, but also realize that your physical body is going to need extra attention in how it processes all forms of energy and interaction in order to begin to allow yourself to touch into all forms of being. That was kind of a tangent that I wasn't anticipating. Okay, anyway, moving on. Emotional boundaries, right? People trample our emotions a lot. They invalidate you. Oh, I'm feeling like this, and they're looking at you going, oh, that's not really how you feel. You're doing this. Well, you're acting like that, right? We've all had it happen. Invalidating your emotions. That's where you need a boundary. If someone is invalidating you and your emotions, it's not that other person that needs to change, because they're going to be them. And unless something changes for them to readdress it, the only thing you can impact and change is you. The only thing you have control over is you and how you interact with others, right? So somebody's trampling your emotions, telling you they're not valid. That's not really how you feel. That's your cue that you need to stop and start working on emotional boundaries. Okay? So, physical, if you have somebody overpowering you, intimidating you physically, leaning into your energy all the time, or crossing your physical boundaries, then you're looking at building those. If you're looking at someone who is always invalidating how you feel, then you're looking at that's the red flag that, okay, I need to start working a little bit more on my emotional boundaries. For someone that is, and this, again, I want to address, this is for everybody, male, female, animals, plants, homes, eating. Everything has an energetic field. If someone is like telling you, you don't know what you're talking about, or you're dumb, you're stupid, are you really? Is that really how you see yourself? No. You've got people that are going, I'm not stupid. Oh my God, I graduated with, cum laude honors and with a 4.2 GPA. And, I went to college. I'm not stupid. What do you mean I'm stupid? That's someone trying to manipulate and control, because usually you're smarter than they are, or you have more knowledge. Let's put it that way. Nobody's really smarter, dumber. One has more knowledge, one is more wise, one is more knowledgeable, right? Change the words. But when you've got somebody really coming at you about your mental capabilities, then that's a red flag. I need to be looking at how I am projecting. Am I playing dumb to make someone feel like they're more knowledgeable? Some women do that. Hey, and there's a lot of men that'll do that too. Oh, I'm interested in this girl. But, she likes to see that she's real smart and everything, so I just dumb it down when I'm around her and act like I don't know things. Are you really doing yourself a justice? Are you really doing the other girl a justice? No. No. That's an area that you need to work on for yourself. Boundaries are the rules of engagement in how you want to interact and have the world interact with you. Spiritual boundaries. Spiritual boundaries are a little bit more fun, at least for me. I thought they were a lot more fun. Spiritual boundaries is how do I want those of the ether to interact with me? What are my rules of engagement? So, and this is not just for spiritual beings, because it's also about my spiritual energy, my soul energy, spirit's energy. How am I allowing it to interact and engage, not just for my being, but others around? So, let me see if I got something. This is a good one. Okay. So if you think about it, this is a nice picture of everybody's energy being nice and clean, and their chakras are just zooming along, all happy. This is a perfection. None of us are perfect, but it gives us a nice, good visual of when we're all walking around, whether you're grocery shopping, just taking a walk, whatever. This is what everybody's energy is in a healthy state would be emitting. Anyone in an unhealthy state, all these areas are going to be dark. Might be funky colors, might be zigzaggy lines that you're feeling, or you might just kind of be like, I'm not really sure I want to be near this person, but I'm going to keep on walking. So with boundaries in play and everything in harmony, that's your bubble, right? We all talk about the bubble of light around us, doing our protection around us. This gives you a nice visual of when all of your centers are in alignment, when your auric field and all your layers of being are in alignment and you're just cruising down the street. That's what you look like. Now, I love this visual because it shows you how far out from the body your energy can really go. And it can get bigger than this, and some people have it smaller than this. But most of us that have been working on the spiritual work for a little while and everything like that, we're working towards being bigger than this. Okay? Nice, huh? That's the goal that you want to feel like. So, how do you make a boundary? Well, we know we can visually see when we buy a house, right? What your property lines are. You know, you look at the property, you're like, there's the house. Oh, these are my lines around my house. That's my property. Make you the house. Your boundaries are your property lines. Okay? How do you want to interact with the world around you, and how do you want the world around you to interact with you? Excuse me. I need a little drink. Other keynote. As you change and grow, your boundaries need to change and grow with you. There are boundaries you make for you. There are boundaries you make for you and your partner as a couple. There are boundaries you make for your home. There are boundaries you make for your work. There are boundaries you make for, how about driving on the road, right? A lot of us deal with, I don't drive anymore, but a lot of people dealing with road rage, right? So they're thinking boundaries have been crossed, you cut me off. Didn't really, but that's the way they're taking it. So when you start working on what do you want your boundaries to be, and I know myself as a medium, it comes up a lot in readings. Your boundaries are not good. They're saying, you really need to work on creating some boundaries for yourself. It's become like the word, right? And when I first started working with it, I was just kind of like, what the hell are you guys? How do I even start? And that's another point of today. How do we start? Start simple, okay? So now with spirit energy, there's always the issue about the words no, not, never dropping off, becoming non-existent. So you do want to pay attention to the words you use when you're creating boundaries. Human level, those words exist. So you can cross it back and forth, okay? I like to work with written word. I like to write things out because for me, it helps me to process it a little bit and clean it up more. Okay? So, and I had done this in a class. I had taken a mediumship class a few years ago to brush up on my abilities and kind of gauge where I was. And this was one of the exercises given. And it was to write, you needed to do 10 for each sentence. And I'm going to change these sentences up a little bit because it is somebody else's work. But to help you kind of give an idea of how to kind of let's start to look at it. So one of them is I have a right to ask for open-ended. And when you start filling it out, you start realizing some of the areas that people have really been trampling on you. So for me, one of mine's, yeah, that I wrote down was, I have a right to ask for peace of mind. Why would I ask for that as a boundary? Why would I put that as a boundary? At the time, I was a mom, 3 teenagers at home, stressed out with bills. I had to quit working. I had to quit driving. I had a lot going on at that point. And I didn't realize it, but my energy was just chaotic, okay? Because everybody else was priority. Being the center of the family hub, I was bearing all of it. I was giving everybody else my energy. And when I would go to bed at night, I couldn't sleep because I had everybody's to-do list in my head. Who needed what needed to be done, how was I going to make it happen, how was I going to find that other $25 to make this other thing happen. One of my boundaries, I have the right to peace of mind. And it sounds like something really simple, but it was a really hard one. I have the right to peace of mind. And for me, that was kind of one of those moments of going, oh my God, I am carrying everything mentally for 4, 5, 6 people. My mind was not quiet. I have a right to the peace of mind. And that made me start to change how I was handling everybody's to-do list and start actually handing things back to others, the parts that they could. And then my job became follow-up. making sure they follow through, versus me carrying all of the responsibility and weight on it because I decided I have a right to peace of mind. Everybody else had peace of mind. They were all chilled and relaxed. Yeah, because I was carrying it all, right? To protect my time and energy, it's okay for me to, what am I? Take time out for myself. Simple, right? Sounds simple. Such a small sentence. But wow, what a huge task to try to put into action. I have another one that is people in spirit must respect how did I write this? Because I'm wanting to change it soon, because I changed it from what I have written down. I have some stuff written. Okay, people and spirits must adhere to my rules on boundaries that I have placed within myself and in my outer space. Right? Because here's the deal. When you're making boundaries are about you, not about the other people. It's not about the boss. It's not about the husband, the kids, none of that. Boundaries are about you and how you want to engage with the world and the world to engage with you. Okay. Another one that I used. So at the time I had my stepson who was really rebelling against me. And I would, ask him to do something, give him a chore, and he would just give me this blank stare. It would get done, but there would be no verbal responses. So mine was, I have a right to ask for a verbal response when speaking to another person. Being acknowledged that my words were heard or felt. I have a right to ask for help from others. That's a big one for a lot of women out there and men. How many men do we know? I got it. Don't worry, I can do this. And us women too. We're really good at going, I got it. I can manage all this. I got it going on. Ask for help from other people. It's a huge, big one to have to try to do and say and spit it out of your mouth, right? Little steps and little boundaries that you begin to work with will help you to build into the bigger ones that you want, right? Because it's a learning process. So, like for me, one of my big boundaries that I had to work on, and I know a lot of people can relate to this one. It's okay to put myself first and walk away from people or relationships that are not in my best interest or in my highest good. Because what do? We sit there and we're like, oh, no, but I really like this person. Or, oh, but I love them. They're family. They're family. I can't walk away from them. They need me. But it's my brother, but it's my sister-in-law, but it's my best friend since grade school. Yeah, guess what? These people, if you realize they're a toxic relationship to you, it can be a temporary removal. It can be a permanent removal. That's up to you. But when you start to address that these people are not showing you how valuable you are, they're trampling every boundary you try to express and insert in your life. And you need to kind of stop for a minute and go, you know what, maybe I need to remove myself from this relationship for now and work on myself. And then I can test the water again. Because people treat us based on how we treat ourselves. If we feel undeserving, they're going to walk all over you. Okay? And here's another tip. When you're making your boundaries, if you're sitting there going, oh, well, you know, but it's got a little wiggle room, it's got a little flexibility. Look at how you're making it flexible. Who are you doing it for? Are you doing it for you? Or are you doing it to make it easier on somebody else? Because if you're doing it for somebody else, it's not for you. Boundaries are about you. Even in relationships, our partners, we need to have boundaries for each other. This is how I want you to treat me. This is how I'm going to be treating myself. The dialogue on boundaries always starts with how you talk to yourself, how you see yourself, how you want your energy to be interacting with others, what values you have. Do you love and value who you are? It's going to reflect in your boundaries or lack of boundaries. And so I would say, you know, this is where it kind of marries in. It's a self work to start off with. For me, with working with spirit, when I first started really just diving in and that became my full-time job, I was getting woken up a lot at night. I wasn't getting any sleep. And when I did get sleep, I wasn't getting restful sleep. It was very much, I wasn't getting into the REM sleep. I had no boundaries on that area. I didn't even think of it. Why would I need it? I'm asleep. I'm in my bed. I got my hubby. We're good, right? No. Boy, working with spirit, they're all like, oh yeah, everything's nice and quiet. She's settled down. Let's wake her up. Let's jump into the dream. We're going to start talking to her. We're going to be, hey, come talk to me. And you're like, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, dude. Okay. I know you got no time, but I got time. And this is not the time to be talking to me. So I really had to work on about boundaries on my sleep and on my bedroom. And I had to really think about it because this is a shared space, right? It's my husband and mine. And so whatever boundaries I wanted put in play on the space itself, I needed to also look at my partner. What was my partner's need in this shared space? Because now the boundaries I create for it are about the two of us and my personal ones, right? So I needed to integrate and do stuff that's about me and my spiritual work, and then boundaries that were about us as a couple on how the energy would interact in that room. So for me, I had started putting in that when I go to bed, that my body must receive restorative sleep, and any spirit work or spirit communication would need to be done outside of the physical body. Yeah, outside of the physical body, in either the dream state or the astral state. Talk about a lot of out-of-body experiences. That went, ooh. But my physical body was being honored, right? Because I laid that down first. My physical body needed its restorative sleep. That's when your body regenerates, it heals. You know, we all know if you're feeling sick, you're a little under the weather, everybody's like, get some rest, get some sleep. You need to feel better. Okay? So, spirit work, you opened up that door, ooh, and you're like, oh yeah, everybody come on in, let's talk. But if you're doing this during your sleep time and your body's not getting REM, little by little over time, it's going to begin to wear down. Your emotional body is going to get really bitchy, very irritable, right? Your mental body gets really sharp toned because you're like, I don't even have time to think that process through. I'm tired. I haven't slept. And eventually it will cause physical illness. So to me, one of the keys was looking at the areas in my life that were the strongest and the weakest, right? Where do I need to look at how I am allowing my interactions, and where am I feeling trampled on? That's your starting point. So to me, I always advise, when I work with clients privately, I usually advise them to take it in steps. Stop first. Look at how are you interacting with those around you and the world around you on a physical level. Then step into the mental. Why do I do mental next? Because the majority of people will see their brain as being a very strong aspect, right? The emotions are a little bit more like, I want you to get into how I'm feeling. We have a lot of empaths out there. Most of us are empaths, okay? About 99% of the humanity out there is an empathic being. It's what we came here to do. The physical human body is an awesome empathic physical form. So look at next, how are you interacting with the world on the mental level? Are you feeling, do you appreciate you and how you mentally connect with others, or mentally connect to the information around you, the energy around you? Then you take the nice big deep breath and you look at your emotional side. right? How are we allowing ourselves to engage emotionally in the world, engage emotionally with ourselves? Okay. Always start first with you and how you are doing, and then you take it layer by layer out. Then look at your spiritual side. Now, key point on looking at your spiritual connection, your spiritual being, and where you need boundaries. I bring this up, and it's going to be, I don't know how it's going to come out, and I hope I don't offend anybody. We have a very large religious culture all over the world, all kinds of religions, all kinds of faiths and belief systems. When you're looking at your spiritual boundaries that you want to create for yourself, whatever your faith and belief system, set it aside. Don't let that part dictate to you, okay? You know what your belief system is. You can integrate that into your spiritual boundaries, but I advise setting it aside first, because when you're working with creating boundaries, boundaries are about you and the rules of engagement for you and the world around you. If you're writing your spiritual boundaries based on someone else's interpretation, someone else's teaching, someone else keywords, someone else, your spiritual boundaries are not going to have an adhesion to you because they're not really yours. It's not something coming from your heart. So when you're looking at your spiritual boundaries, this is one of the areas that is really about you and your heart, not your brain, not your belief system, not somebody else's book. It's a conversation about you and your heart, your soul being, having that sit-down conversation. So you can do really simple kinds of boundaries with it where, see, I don't have this one because I don't have a belief system from a religious book. But what you're wanting to do is give that boundary an allowance and flexibility that marries the belief system and the spirit inside you with your heart. And when you marry it together, it allows you that bit of room for you to continue to grow and not be withheld from a teaching or a religious construct that is trying to box you in. Okay. And I say that because, you could go to church and you could listen to a sermon today and that one really resonates to you, but you go next week and your minister is off on a totally different tangent and you're not even interested in it. It has no resonance for you. So you want to really bring in more from your faith system and your belief system with your spiritual boundaries. For me, my spiritual boundaries work more with spirit themselves, souls. And so I have rules of engagement that surround that aspect of it, such as What was it? Trying to see. I wrote one that was spirits are not only are they must respect my willingness to aid them. They must respect my request to leave my energy, my consciousness, if at any time it impedes my health, either physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. Okay. They must respect my resting time. And energetic drainage is not allowed. Something simple. Boundaries. Boundaries will grow and change with you if you remember to allow them to. Otherwise, they get stuck in the mud. Right? Everything changes. Everything is a flowing energy in motion. So you need to think about your boundaries as also having that aspect to them. Okay? Energy in motion, thought in motion. If you have a person that is continually crossing your boundaries, then you really need to think about cutting that person out of your life and closing the door for a little while. Doesn't mean it has to be forever. But if they're not able to respect a simple boundary, are they really respecting you as a person? Are they really showing you a loving interaction, or are they trampling? Something you need to ask yourself, and look at it. So I do want to open up for questions because I've been doing a lot of rambling over here. You can also do, now I'm going to tell you, when you're looking at boundaries more, sorry, I just rolled that down. So, okay. I lost my train of thought. Lost it. Anyway, if those questions, go ahead and ask them. I'll see what we can answer. Svetlana says, I find things with boundaries has to do with freedom. Well, that comes into play a little bit more, Svetlana, when you're looking at boundaries in bigger group scenarios like workplace rules, community, that kind of thing that can be with the freedom. But we're talking more The boundaries that I'm really more referring to are your personal boundaries of engagement, the rules of engagement for you and the energy around you and the people around you, that kind of thing. So, like, you have a right to ask. Another boundary that I have is I have a right to non-judgment. I have um, I will interact with others in a respectful manner and be treated and spoken to in a respectful manner and allow my words to be heard. It's got nothing about nobody else. It's just about how I'm wanting to engage with others and how I'm wanting my energy to um, to flow back and forth. Does that make more sense? And there's, like living and spirit are to adhere to my personal sanctum rules and interact without, so you have to touch the words, without ill will or harm. Others may interact with me without absorbing or dumping their energy into my energy field. Meaning I don't want to absorb all your crap. And when you do have boundaries, you can integrate boundaries with other modalities. So, like for me, I have a crystal grid over my property. The visualization my husband and I did was a big dome over the property. And I used raw quartz crystals that we found on the property and cleaned up and charged them with the intent. Right. So this is an energetic boundary we created on the property using crystals. And basically, we played with it a little bit and updated it on and off over the years since we've lived here. But basically, it's that those who come to this property with intent of harm will feel uncomfortable, unwelcome, and exit as quickly as their feet can carry them. Those who come to this property who will be open and loving towards the home, the land, and the people residing here will feel warmth, welcome, and loving comfort. Right? So I have that on the property. I have a different one that's set for the house itself. Those who come into this home will honor and respect the individuals and the home. The spirits who enter this home will respect and honor the family who resides here and behave in a manner that is appropriate. I still get pranked, but it's kind of like, look, you guys, you can come, you can enjoy, you can hang out, but you need to be respectful and you need to adhere to the rules No sucking anybody's energy, no drainage, no attachments. And if you're a spirit needing to cross over, you're welcome to come. There's a, portal doorway for you to use. Have at it. To go home. If you're needing assistance, then you need to wait until I open up my door, my personal energetic door, to interact. You can, to me, putting up fence lines, everybody loves good fence, have fences in other homes. But for me, by using the energy intent, I don't need a fence. Because instead, those boundaries that we created on an energetic flow become their own fence line, right? People don't want to. It's almost like they're having to cross through this thicker filter to get through it, and that's usually the ones that are trying to mess with things. They'll feel that this isn't welcome, this isn't warm. And those that come to visit and have a good time, they feel awesome when they come in. They feel really welcome. They don't want to leave. They just, feel relaxed. I have a lot of people fall asleep in my house, come to visit, and they're taking naps. That to me expresses that the boundaries I've set on the property and on the home is actually giving them that peace that they're just like, oh, I could just sleep. I don't know why I'm so tired here. I haven't been able to sleep in like a week. But gosh, I come here and I'm just like nodding off. I need to take a nap. It's based on the boundaries that are set on the property. So I have no idea if I've helped anybody with boundary basics or not. You guys are being awfully quiet. But I do hope that at least it gives you an idea of how to be able to start and implement them. Boundaries, their strength is from you. Boundaries' strength is only as strong as you create it and believe in it. It's your creation. So if you're looking at, well, everybody keeps trampling my boundaries, then you need to stop and look at how well are you believing in your boundaries? Because if you're kind of like, well, I put boundaries in place, but well, it's okay for this person. And well, it's going to be okay for that person if they don't listen to it. You just made that boundary non-existent for everybody. Because you yourself do not have an energy of intent giving it any value and strength. So, boundaries, the rules of engagement, how others of all forms and non-forms interact with you and you wish to interact with them. Boundaries start with looking within and seeing where your own weaknesses or where you are feeling invalidated or trampled on are areas to begin with. Boundaries need to change and grow as you do. And boundaries are for all the layers of being. You want boundaries for physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. If you've got somebody keep telling you your feelings are not what they are, you need to stop and look at how to create a boundary for yourself that lets your feelings be validated. And guess what? You are the only person that can validate you. So, it looks like nobody's got a question out there. I was going to also add, I don't know, I spaced it. Oh well. So, I suggest working with the boundaries, get yourself some paper and a pen. Be honest with yourself. You need to really, really be honest with yourself. First start writing down the areas that you feel you're being, I guess the word mistreated would work. Not a great word. But anywhere that you're feeling where you're not being honored as a person. A lot of times it's easier to be looking at the external interactions to be able to get to looking at the internal interactions, okay? Because a lot of us have a hard time about looking in the mirror and being really raw, honest about how we talk to ourselves. So I suggest first, get yourself some paper, write down some of the areas that you have felt where a boundary is needed, or a treatment that you've had, a person, an interaction you've had, an area that you're struggling with, whether it's spirits that are, not listening to you when you tell them no, people living that are constantly trampling on how you're feeling, what you're doing, those kinds of things. Be honest. You're the only person that needs to see these. Nobody else needs to read them. Once you have something, it really helps the mental and emotional bodies to get in sync when we write things out. And it actually opens up the throat chakra, because even though we're not verbalizing to another person, we're verbalizing to ourselves through that avenue. So when you're writing it through, then you can sit down and go, okay, now that I'm kind of seeing it in the black and white, okay, yeah, maybe I need to work a little bit more on boundaries and how I interact with work, and work interacts with me. Or maybe I need to add some boundaries at home with my children, with my husband, wife, whatever. But it comes back to you. Okay, what are you needing, and how are you wanting to engage? Once you've seen from the external, or how you're looking at how the external world is interacting with you, and you've written those down, go back, new paper, fresh, and start looking at yourself, right? Like if you are a completely separate individual, outside perspective, right? Pretend you're your own sibling, pretend you're your own best friend, whatever, the person that you're going to feel, right? And you start writing down the things that you notice about yourself that you feel is being impeded upon, trampled upon, invalidated. People would say the negative self-talk. But to me, negative and positive are just two sides of an electrical charge. So I don't see negative and positive, okay? But this is a way that you can be really brutally honest with yourself, okay? I want you to be destructive. I want you to be open and honest with yourself about how you see yourself and how you see yourself interacting the rules of engagement with yourself and others. Because if you're not treating you good, you gave every other person permission to treat you like shit. And if you believe yourself deserving of that treatment, that's what you get more of. Until you finally take the reins back, work on how you see yourself, work on areas of self-acceptance and self-love, changes your dialogue. And working with boundaries and creating boundaries for yourself is a really honest way to get pretty brutal with yourself about, damn, girl, you just, for me, that was a point that I really had to be brutally honest with myself and just went, God, every time these two people are on the phone with me, or I visit with them, I come away just feeling like I'm a dumb blonde idiot that can't make a freaking decision for herself that's worth a shit. These were people I love. And I had to really be brutally honest with myself and go, why am I giving them the power and the validation of who I am? Why am I allowing them to dictate to me how good or not good I am, how smart or not smart I am? Why am I giving my power away? And then I had to stop and be really brutally honest with myself and go, yeah, you always looked up to these people. You always, if they said that's not the right job, you listened. If they said that's not the right guy to date, you listened. You changed. You did what they told you to do. Was I their puppet? A little bit, because I was giving their opinions priority and more of a validity than my own. And that's when I really had to go, wait a minute, I obviously have no boundaries where it comes to these two people. And I'm either going to keep allowing this, which is really very toxic to me, or I can stop and go, wait a minute. And I stopped and said, wait a minute. And I closed the door on those two people. I cut off my relationship. I haven't restored it yet. I'll see if by that time it comes. But for me, I needed to do that so that I could begin to address how I was seeing myself and what my internal dialogue was, and how my boundaries had no existence. So that then I could go, okay, all right, Shannon, it's time to get your shit together. You're going to start with boundary of internal dialogue. When I start to get down on myself, that's one of my boundaries. And no more mental beating myself up and emotionally invalidating myself as a person. Zip! that one stops right here. And so my boundary that I created, right? Think of this. It's a boundary I created. You wouldn't think it is, but it is. The boundary I created in that aspect was that every time I begin to see and speak to myself in a negative, harmful way, I need to stop, look, and listen and begin to shift the perception back to a positive expression. So for me, when I start getting that internal dialogue of going, I keep screwing this one up. This isn't good. And just, you get that. I get it a lot about clothes, so because I'm a very large-chested woman, so I get this thing, and I start picking it apart and going, oh, like this and this and this. And I have to listen to my boundary that I gave myself. When I start getting into that, then I have to stop, look, meaning look at myself, and listen to what I'm saying. I have to tell myself to listen to myself. Yeah. And go, wait, okay, I'm beating myself up. This isn't right. And start giving myself something positive to focus on. Changes the energy, resets. So I'm listening to my own boundary that I need to speak to myself in a way that is honest, but yet not destructive. So I guess that's probably about all I got on boundaries for today. I have no clue if it helped anybody. I hope it does. I hope it gives you some ideas of how to start. Boundary basics comes down to you and how you want to work with the world interact with you, and how you are with you. So, since I don't have any questions to answer, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for today. I hope this information has given you some kind of ideas on how to begin to work with them. And if you have any questions or suggestions for other topics to talk about, please message the page, email me, whatever you like to do. And oh, I see this thing. Oh. See, Facebook has a little delay going on, so I don't see the messages. Tina, this was meant for me to watch and hear. Thank you, Shannon. I'm glad it helped, Tina. Svetlana, can you give us some homework with examples? Did that help at all, Svetlana, on how to start with writing? So, homework. I'm going to give you a homework assignment. I can do a homework assignment. Okay. So, homework. Let's start with 5 points for a couple different questions. Question 1 would be, I love how my brain just goes, suddenly goes blank. Okay. My time and energy is open to blank. People of all forms, physical and non-physical, must adhere to blank. Okay. I am deserving of blank. Let's do one that's just for internal dialogue. When I speak to myself, blank, fill in the blanks. Okay? You can do a couple of those. You know, give yourself a goal of going like, okay, I'm going to do 5 for each of those. It's a little bit challenging. And if you can do 5, try to push it to 10. Right? And remember, these are things that should always be growing and changing as you grow and change or as situations change in your life. Boundaries are always going to be evolving with you. So that's a couple of good questions to be able to sit down with, just write the letter, and then attempt to hit several points for yourself and start with that and then build on it. Okay? But those are some of the easier ways to work with it. And especially if you start off, like I had said before, if you had started off with that brutally honest one, you will end up realizing some of the key ones that you want to focus on. And then it's a matter of reiterating them. Okay? Once you figure out what your boundaries need to be, once you got them fine-tuned, okay, then you need to build on it. Building on it is building the intent of the energy. How do you do that? By reinforcing them every day, verbally, mentally, visually, heart. Okay? So it's something that you're going to want to be able to, you know, whether you make time that you read it every day, just to reiterate it until it becomes, and I say becomes as in you know it and feel it, and it becomes such a part of you that you know them without looking at the paper anymore. These are your rules of engagement, right? So it's really that reinforcement over and over, tweaking it how you need to, but keep going over, and then you'll notice that it becomes so easy that it's just right there. That's when it has become. It's become a part of you. Okay? And with anything, that's pretty much how they work. Manifestations, um, mantras, affirmations, all of those things come into play. They have an energy of existence based on how we build the energy in it and towards it. That's what gives it its strength. If you only say it once, you only write it down once, and then you toss it aside and you never look at it again, it has gone whoop, because you haven't given any reinforcement in your own energy, in your mental, spiritual, emotional, physical being to give it any kind of strength. Make sense? The more that you build it, the stronger it is. It becomes that force field around you. And, I even gave myself a boundary that if someone is treating me ill or disrespectfully, I have the right to turn around and walk away and not engage in that conversation. Something easy like that. So I hope this has helped. And if anybody has any questions, you can message the page, give suggestions, whatever. I'd love to do some more videos for you guys, diving in a little bit deeper into some of these areas that seem like, oh, we should just know how to do that, if we don't. All right? Many blessings. Much love. Bye. And my day doesn't want to end.